Tonight, panic in Bayelsa State as flood washes up bodies from graves. Governor Diri declares 7 days work-free for government workers after an aerial tour of some affected communities. National Assembly Constitution Review Committee accuses governors and lawmakers in 25 states of stalling the Constitution amendment process. Amid alleged moves in some quarters to stop the use of the BVAS in the 2023 general elections, INEC chairman insists no going back on the deployment of technology for the polls.
On business news tonight, Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company declares force majeure and shuts down operations as widespread flooding disrupts gas supply in the country.
And on sports news tonight, Rivers United and Plateau United will face North African opponents in their conquest to seal qualification to the group phase of the CAF Confederations Cup.
And from the nation's capital, Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, says cooperation with security agencies has reduced oil theft in the Niger Delta significantly.
And in international news from London, Russian forces have again targeted Ukraine's energy facilities, leaving parts of Kyiv and other cities with no power or water.
It's now 2 weeks since the first flooding was recorded in Yenagoa and in other parts of Bayelsa State. Hundreds of people have been dislodged from their homes. Not even the bodies in the cemetery are spared by the flooding. Residents of Cemetery Road, Azikoro village, are now living in fear of a likely epidemic. The governor earlier today undertook an aerial tour of the state to determine the extent of damage caused by the flood.
Bayelsa State in south Nigeria has a landmass of 10,773 kilometers, and more than half of this has been covered by floods. Currently, the most common mode of transportation is the use of canoe, and those who will swim struggle through the water to get to their destinations. Even our crew had to wade through the water to access the cemetery at Azikoro village, and our findings are mind-boggling.
This is the rapper.
Genetic.
Sorry.
As we were in the cemetery, I saw something flowing out, coming out when the water is coming. Immediately I saw it, that first one was casket with its common side. Then the second one that we bury without casket to float and come outside. I don't know what to do, so I need to drag them with my colleagues to the corner sides of the cemetery to find where to put them, because the corner side of the cemetery, that time the water was not up to this level, so we look for a solution because we are living there with our family and our children.
The health implication of this is unimaginable, and residents believe those in authority should act immediately by fumigating the community and perhaps evacuating residents of the area to safety.
We're talking about discharge of effluents that are full of bacteria into this water. And of course, the underground water is also affected, and that means a very serious health threat to humans that are living within this place. And I think that this is the premise, one of the very logical reasons why inhabitants of this community are appealing very passionately and strongly to the governor that there is now need, in the face of what we have seen, there is need for the cemetery to be shut down and the cemetery to be relocated to a better place.
The governor of the state, Doye Diri, embarks on an aerial tour of affected communities already submerged and assures the people that he has ordered more relief materials to be brought into the state through the waterways.
We have been totally separated from the rest of the world. So it's pathetic. It's something that you can't even wish your enemy to be. I'm happy that the federal government responded by saying that they have not abandoned Bayelsa State and gave immediate order to all those emergency departments and agencies and all federal agencies to immediately come to the aid of Bayelsa State.
Whatever in my house, you go reach my neck. You go reach my neck. See me with my wife, they pack, they go.
This is perhaps the most devastating flood recorded in the state in many years. Properties submerged, valuables lost, schools unable to resume, marketplaces swept away, and health centers taken over by the floods. And there's no doubt that it will take the state and the people a long time to recover from this huge catastrophe.
Big challenge indeed. Meanwhile, in neighboring River State, thousands of persons in internally displaced persons camps are being provided with food and medicine by the state government. The first batch of the disaster relief items were distributed today by the Flood Management Committee within the camps in the Ahoda area of the state.
Thank you, sir. 22-year-old Favor is a mother of the set of twin who was sacked from her home in the Ahoda area of River State by the flood that is ravaging parts of the state. Like Favor, over 1,000 persons in this camp and thousands of others in other camps within this area have lost all they have suffered for in years in just a slip moment of this disastrous event. While the government may not be able to recover their loss, the Nyesom Wike administration is sending in trucks of relief materials and food and medicine in keeping to its promise to provide succor at this time of their need.
We came with a medical team. We came with a mobile clinic, which shall be positioned here that as we leave, people that have one type of code or the other, or whatever complaint you have, will be given proper attention. We came with environmental health officers. They are going to be living with you here. They are going to be running shift. They will come and see what you are passing through, handle some environmental issues, and advise you on how to live well as a community.
The IDPs and their representatives are grateful to the state government.
For showing leadership, for showing that he's a man of his words, who believes in the people, who cares for the people, and the plight of the people affects him directly. We are very grateful, and we thank the committee. We come immediately as governor send them, bring all the home materials, even bring logistics, where people will use they buy kerosene, they use they buy gas, buy fuel, to reuse the make sure say this IDP Center 1 for Ahoda East.
As the internally displaced persons learn to adapt to the new environment, the council chairmen of the areas are promising adequate security for their safety. 4 local government areas of Ahoda East, Ahoda West, Ogbai, Beman, Dono, and Abia Odwal are impacted, and the government is expected to do the same for all affected persons.
Away from flood disasters to the National Assembly, where there appears to be a stalemate in the process of amending the nation's constitution. The National Assembly Constitution Review Committee says 6 months after 44 constitution bills were passed and transmitted to state houses of assembly, only 11 states have considered the bills. According to the chairman of the committee and deputy president of Senate, Senator Ovio Moagege, 25 states have resolved not to act on the bills unless the National Assembly passes 4 bills that emanated from them. Our correspondent Terry Kumi has more.
Over 6 months after transmitting 44 constitution amendment bills to state houses of assembly, the National Assembly Committee on Constitution Review is holding this press conference to update Nigerians on the status of the bills. In attendance are members of labor unions, including the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Mr. Ayuba Waba.
Furthermore,
Chairman of the Constitution Review Committee and Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ovio Moagege, accused the state houses of assembly of stalling the process after 11 states have considered the bills.
we received a letter from the Conference of Speakers of State Assemblies informing the National Assembly that the remaining states will not act. The remaining states will not act on the 44 bills unless the National Assembly passes 4 new bills they have proposed in the letter. The bills they propose to seek to amend the Constitution includes 1, a bill to establish state police. This is a bill that we've already considered and voted on as required by the Constitution. State police. 2, a bill to establish State Judicial Council. 3, a bill to streamline the procedure for removing presiding officers of state houses of assembly. And 4, a bill to institutionalize legislative bureaucracy in the Constitution.
He also blames the state governors for stalling the process, especially as regards the issue of state police. The labor unions in their submissions stand with the National Assembly on the issues of local government autonomy and state police.
Clearly, our position is we are not matured for that. If a state governor can deploy political talks for peaceful protests, you should know that if he has state police, he will do worse than that.
We also want to know the position of each party on local government autonomy. We want to know the position of Labour Party candidate, APC candidate, PDP candidate on local government autonomy. Whoever is not ready to solve local government autonomy, Nigerians will come out and vote them out.
If we can shut down 36 states House of Assembly and stop every governor from presenting a bill, we'll do it again. We'll do it again and we'll do it again.
With the resistance being put up by state assemblies, Nigerians would be compelled to question why they would ignore the importance of granting autonomy to local governments, state legislature and judiciary, and insist on the establishment of state police, despite concerns of whether or not state governors can be trusted with the latter. There are further concerns that the Constitution amendment could fail again, making a waste of the 500 million naira budgeted for it. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And anyone harboring the thought that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, will not deploy the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, in next year's election may have to think again. This is because the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, again stated that there is no plan to discard the use of the BVAS and the electronic transmission of results. Addressing participants in Abuja during a training of master trainers on technologies for the 2023 general elections, the INEC chairman says the commission is determined to ensure a free, fair, credible and transparent election.
The use of technology in conducting transparent elections is a focus of this training of master trainers by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Amidst reports of plans to distort the use of technology for the 2023 general elections, the chairman of the electoral body assures Nigerians of massive deployment of technology to all parts of the country for the exercise.
The combination of BVAS and IREF portal have come to stay as a means of voter education and transmission of election results. Nothing will change that reality.
While the chairman of the board of Electoral Institute harps on the need for credible elections, the country director of International Foundation for Electoral Systems promises continued partnership with INEC.
The special training and retraining of all categories of electoral personnel for delivery of effective and efficient electoral services at all levels is a standing principles of the Commission.
INEC can count on our readiness to continually partner with the Commission in achieving its mission of serving as an independent and effective election management body committed to conducting free, fair and credible elections for sustainable democracy in Nigeria.
Recent reports of violence at campaign venues and the refusal to grant access to venues by some state governments also have the attention of the electoral body.
Let me caution parties and their supporters to focus on issues and steer clear of attacks on each other. These are not only violations of the Electoral Act 2022, but also negate the voluntary commitment by all political parties and candidates to the letter and spirit of the peace accord signed about 3 weeks ago under the auspices of the National Peace Committee.
The 3-day training is expected to equip participants on how to be able to effectively and efficiently organize and lead training sessions for other officials towards the conduct of a successful 2023 general elections.
In part two, after the break, the president warns ministers, permanent secretaries and heads of agencies against abandoning their duties for political engagements as the ministerial review retreat comes to a close in Abuja. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Panic in Bayelsa State as flood washes up bodies from graves. Governor Diri declares 7 days work-free for government workers after an aerial tour of some affected communities. National Assembly Constitution Review Committee accuses governors and lawmakers in 25 states of stalling the Constitution amendment process. Amid alleged moves in some quarters to stop use of the BVAS in the 2023 general elections, INEC chairman insists no going back on deployment of the technology for the polls. And Russian forces again target Ukraine's energy facilities, leaving parts of Kyiv and other cities with no power and water. And in a move that may appear to some as a surprise, River State Governor Nyesom Wike has endorsed his Lagos State counterpart, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, for a second term in office. Governor Wike gave the endorsement in Lagos at the conference by the Committee of Wives of Lagos State officials today, where he also called on Nigerians to be wary of those who drive the ethnic agenda. For Governor Sanwo-Olu, who defended the choice of Governor Wike as guest speaker at the event, good governance has no political coloration.
Women in Lagos converge on Eko Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, for the 2022 National Women Conference organized by the Committee of Wives of Lagos State Officials, CALSO. The special guest for the event is the River State Governor Nyesom Wike, who makes his way into the auditorium with the host governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu alongside his wife Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, APC National Women Leader Betta Edu, former Governor of Ekiti State Ayodele Fayose, among others. The National Women Conference provides an opportunity for women to contribute to the political and socio-economic growth of Lagos.
The world is indeed in need of solutions, and as women, we owe it to ourselves to emerge into better versions of ourselves as we spring forth and keep pushing forward to make a positive difference.
These thoughts are shared by the special guest, who believes women must be given equal opportunity in decision-making and backs CALSO's support for women with 300 million naira.
We cannot have truly representative democracy without according reasonable space and opportunities for women in the political power structure and decision-making processes of the country as a matter of right. So on behalf of the women of River State, my dear wife, who has extended her greetings, we support this so you can continue with the laudable project with a sum of 300 million.
No one expected this surprise announcement from a member of the opposition, as Governor Wike endorses the APC governorship candidate in Lagos State for a second term in office.
Your Excellency, my dear brother, my friend, who will be a second-time governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
Please welcome with me the governor.
For Governor Sanwo-Olu, the 22nd edition of the conference is a clarion call for women to prefer solutions to issues of national development.
Go to each of your polling booths, organize yourself as you do. You elect that which we are asking for, the presidency, which will change the dynamics, which will change the front line of our country.
The First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, also makes a special appearance virtually. She charges women to participate in the 2023 general election and elect leaders that will make Nigeria better.
As mothers of the nation, let us unite to elect leaders with vision and mission to a better Nigeria.
CALSO has been ongoing for over 40 years, supporting women in various fields. This year's event is rounded off with the 2022 Inspiration Women Recognition awarded to Adenike Oyetunde Lawal, a lawyer and a qualified alternate dispute resolutor.
And to legal matters, the senatorial candidate of the Labour Party for Ebonyi South in the 2023 general elections, Linus Okorie, was today arraigned over an alleged incitement to violence and advanced free fraud preferred against him. Mr. Okorie represented Ebonyi South, comprising Onitsha, Ohozara and Ivo federal constituency in the House of Representatives between 2007 and 2015 under the platform of the People's Democratic Party. Mr. Okorie was reported to have been kidnapped on Sunday by men of Ebubagu, which the police denied, explaining that he was duly arrested to face prosecution. While the lead counsel to the accused, Mr. Nome Chikodili, said the arraignment of his client is an abuse of court process, as there is a subsisting judgment by an Abuja Federal High Court barring the police and the Ebonyi State government from arresting and prosecuting Mr. Okorie. To all the stories now. The President has issued a warning to ministers, permanent secretaries and heads of government agencies not to abandon the business of governance for electioneering ahead of the 2023 polls. President Muhammadu Buhari handed down this warning at the closing of the third Ministerial Performance Review retreat today. He also signed the Executive Order 012 on improving performance management, coordination and implementation of presidential priorities. Our State House correspondent Gloria Mizuke reports.
The President is back on the second day of the third Ministerial Performance Review meeting alongside his Kenyan counterpart, former President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, after hours of discussions in between sessions. A review of the 9 priority areas of the President administration and key recommendations from the retreat is first outlined.
The executive and legislature should de-emphasize separation of powers and focus on collaboration and cooperation in the nation's interests. Federal government to introduce robust mechanisms to track daily PMS consumption with appropriate technologies.
The President then signs the Executive Order 012.
The Executive Order 012 on improving performance management, coordination and implementation of prudential priorities has institutionalized a cultural accountability, transparency in our pursuit of good governance.
The President expects that all the planning and lessons learned in the last 3 years be judiciously implemented without political distractions.
With the commencement of the electioneering campaigns toward the 2023 general elections, the business of governance must continue to receive the needed attention during this period. Consequently, all ministers, permanent secretaries, and heads of agencies must remain focused in discharge of their duties, as any infraction will be viewed very seriously.
The Chief of Defense Staff, who draws a correlation between insecurity and development, states that the armed forces have received 2.5 trillion naira in the last 7 years, while the country incurred 3.24 trillion naira worth of damages from the insurgency.
Since the coming of the administration in 2015, we saw a gradual reduction based on the impact and the reorganization of the operations that we conducted, that we all know that they've been having inroads into the Northwest, which we are also dealing with currently.
Earlier, the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu vowed to build on the legacies of the president.
If elected, I will give due honor to your efforts and your legacy. The way and means of a Tinubu government will be devoted to further project and prosper the Nigerian people.
Closing, the president categorically tells the MDAs that we have unfinished business, as he expressly gives more than 6 ministries directives, all tending towards optimal achievements before he leaves office in 7 months. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10. Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company declares force majeure and shuts down operations as widespread flooding disrupts gas supply in the country. That's on Business News. Do join us again. Let's now go to Abuja's studio where Terry Kumi is standing by with more. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Millicent. We begin with some cheery news from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, which has given the assurance that the country will have access to more crude and, by extension, more revenue in the coming weeks. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, says the partnership with security agencies has significantly reduced the scale of oil theft in the Niger Delta. He was speaking at the second day of the Pengassan Energy and Labour Summit in Abuja.
Comfortably seated. A round of applause for yourself. Thank you.
It's the second day of the Pengassan Energy and Labour Summit with the theme Energy Transition and its Effects on the Workforce in Nigeria's Oil and Gas Sector. And senior staff workers in the energy sector are gathered for the event.
Mele Kyari.
The conversation quickly moves to one of the major issues plaguing the sector, crude oil theft.
The current situation of theft and abandoned actions, is very difficult to take the next step. And I'm happy to also share with you today that monumental progress has been achieved. And I can tell you, in the next not long while, in a couple of days or probably maximum a week, a number of our pipeline assets will come back on stream.
In his keynote address, the chief executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission informs that the gas flare commercialization program has been relaunched in line with the national commitment to net zero carbon emissions.
Comrades, in its commitment to optimization of Nigerian gas resources, the federal government declared gas as transition fuel towards a low carbon future, which further reinforced the fact that Nigeria is more of a gas-rich nation than oil-rich nation.
For him, please, as he comes up.
For the national president of Pengassan, political leaders must make sacrifices and cut in the cost of governance before asking Nigerians to sacrifice.
Our leaders must lead by example. Today, if you check the budget that was just passed, there's what they call service-wide vote. The service-wide vote today is going to 3 trillion naira. The service-wide vote is where you draw money from when, the accounting system of service-wide vote is questionable. Today, we still live in profligacy. Today, go to the various states and see what our governors are doing. They cannot tell us that we are passing through austerity. They cannot tell us that they need our help, but they are still living business as usual.
The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission also hinted that it will soon commence mini bids of 7 offshore blocks of gas to beef up the nation's revenue and deepen domestic gas utilization.
Now to some disturbing news on security. 2 persons have been killed and an unspecified number of persons abducted after gunmen attacked the Abdulsalami Abubakar General Hospital in Gulu, located in Lapai local government area of Niger State. A doctor and a pharmacist were among those said to have been abducted by the attackers who raided the hospital in the early hours of today. Meanwhile, Governor Abubakar Bello has condemned the incident in a statement, describing it as callous and inhuman, while directing the state's Joint Security Task Force to end the frequent attacks in Lapai local government area. Now, a similar scenario played out in neighboring Zamfara state, where bandits killed one person and abducted 8 others during a Monday night attack in Hayin Banki area of Anka local government area in the state. Sources from the local government headquarters told Channels Television that the gunmen stormed the area around 11:30 p.m., shooting sporadically. Meanwhile, the Zamfara State Police Command has arrested 12 persons in connection with various offenses related to banditry, arms dealing, and political thuggery. Parading the suspects at the police headquarters on Tuesday in Gusau, the spokesperson of the command, Mohammed Shehu, said 5 of the suspects were political thugs arrested in connection with sporadic shooting that resulted in the death of 1 person, with several injured in Gusau last Saturday. Well, staying with security, gunmen suspected to be bandits have invaded the Nyalum community of Wase local government area of Plateau State, killing the village head, Salisu Idris, and 2 other residents. The suspected bandits also abducted 5 members of the community, including 2 mothers, and made away with several motorcycles belonging to the residents. According to a resident of the village, the bandits stormed the community on motorcycles on Monday night and started shooting sporadically to scare people, and went straight to the home of the village head, killed him and 2 others, and also abducted 5 members of his family. Police spokesman CSP Alfred Alabo, who confirmed the incident, said information about the killings is sketchy, as the divisional police officer in charge of the area and other security operatives are still on the trail of the bandits. Away from security now, the Zamfara state government has apologized to the media organizations which were shut down over alleged violation of the state's executive order following the resurgence of terrorist activities in the state. According to the special advisor to the state governor on intergovernmental affairs, Abdullahi Shinkafi, the decision followed the controversies generated by the government's action. The state government ordered the closure of the Nigerian Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria's Pride FM, Gamji TV and FM, as well as Aluma TV, all in Gusau, the state capital, for allegedly disobeying a government order. That's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Terry. Inefficient administration and heavy-handed regulation have been identified as one of the major setbacks to industrialization in the country. Despite that, the development of a strong institutional and regulatory framework can turn the tide in the quest to transform the country into an industrialized nation. Well, this was the thrust of a lecture delivered by the President and Chief Executive of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, at the 2nd Adeola Odutola Lecture in commemoration of the 50th Annual General Meeting of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria in Lagos.
God bless Nigeria. And God
the second in the series of the Adeola Odetola Lecture attracts captains of industry, small and large-scale industrialists, all members of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, as well as policymakers.
The lecture of our special guest.
It is a platform for contemporary discourse on industrialization, as the organizer continues to engage stakeholders to achieve desired performance of the manufacturing sector.
The association had always had to deal with the various challenges in an economy that over the years has seen many challenges, many ups and downs. It is in this regard that at this annual meeting we felt that the association, its members and its guests should pause and look at where we have been and think of the future.
Guest lecturer Alhaji Aliko Dangote takes on the subject matter, analyzing the current status of the manufacturing sector and constraints to its optimal performance.
Nigeria's industrialization process has been greatly challenged by structural and institutional constraints, particularly funding. These factors have over the years cumulatively contributed to its disappointing performance. For instance, in the last decade, average share of manufacturing value added to GDP in countries like China and Malaysia stood at 41% and 38% respectively, compared to 14% in Nigeria.
Setting the agenda for industrialization in Nigeria in the next decade, Alhaji Dangote identifies measures that need to be put in place to accelerate the growth of the manufacturing sector.
To drive industrialization and sustain economic growth in Nigeria, it is important that deliberate policies that are manufacturing specific should be designed to support manufacturing activities and address the perennial challenges of the sector.
One of the highlights of the event is the unveiling of a Blueprint 2.0, a document to accelerate development of manufacturing in Nigeria. The organizers expect that key recommendations from the lecture will form the basis for the implementation of business-enabling policies that will drive industrialization and economic growth.
Members of the executive. To company news, the Intercontinental Distillers Limited have unveiled its rebranded Eagle and Commodore aromatic schnapps to reflect the ever-changing needs of its customers and stakeholders. The products were announced at the 2022 edition of Distributors Award in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, where over 100 loyal distributors across the country received various awards.
The 2022 Distributors Awards ceremony comes 2 years after the last one as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. A blend of culture and tradition is showcased here. Management, partners and distributors of Intercontinental Distillers Limited, as well as other dignitaries, including the Olota of Ata, are present as the company unveils the rebranded Eagle and Commodore aromatic schnapps known as Spirits of Progress and Answered Prayers.
I recommend this product because our God will be happy with you when you use this product for prayers.
Therefore, what are different? Number one, the bottles are completely different. We now have new, trendy, very contemporary and chic bottles for both of the brands. Two, the gift boxes are also different. Three, the Commodore Schnapp has a 37.5 CL, which has never been before, and it comes in glass.
By way of appreciating their loyalty, Intercontinental Distillers rewards distributors in different categories, with prizes including trucks, generators, and cash.
We value and appreciate your patronage and loyalty to our company. I want to assure you that IDL will do everything possible to maintain this good business relationship we have built together over the years.
We will continue to solicit for your support to push for the sales of our new products and great brands, to improve in the area of redistribution, to make our products more easily available across all the nooks and crannies of the country.
Some of the valued distributors commend the management for the recognition.
I thank God for IDEA, for honoring us, for giving us this award.
Since the commencement of its operation in 1984, Intercontinental Distillers Limited says it has proved itself a dependable and leading market operator in alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages.
Let's now switch to some business news. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company, NLNG, has declared force majeure and shut down operations due to widespread flooding disrupting supply of gas in the country. The declaration, according to analysts, could worsen Nigeria's cash crunch and will reduce global supply of gas as Europe and others struggle to replace Russian exports. Meanwhile, recent flooding in Nigeria has killed more than 600 people, displaced 1.4 million persons, and destroyed farmlands, averaging the lowest level of 4 decades due to oil theft. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources says a decision by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies OPEC Plus to cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day was unanimous. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Temipre Silva, made this known in a statement released today. According to him, the decision aims to balance supply and demand and prevent a degeneration of the current volatile oil market. Afex Nigeria's leading commodity market player has launched a multi-grain processing plant in Kaduna State with an annual processing capacity of 100,000 metric tons. The new state-of-the-art plant is located in Makarfi local government area of the state, and it's equipped with modern grain sorting and packaging equipment. Commissioning the plant, Governor Nasir El-Rufai says the commencement of the factory is a testimony of his administration's friendly economic reform and the ease of doing business in Kaduna State.
Established in 2013, Afex commenced operations with just 7 storage facilities across the country with an aggregate storage capacity of 12,000 metric tons per annum. Due to the resilience and hard work, the commodity trader has expanded to 150 storage facilities across the country. In this quest, Afex has built a state-of-the-art grain processing plant located at Makarfi local government area of Kaduna State. The plant has the capacity of processing a wide range of grain including maize, soybeans, sorghum, amongst others, sourced from local farmers in the northern part of the country. Governor Nasir El-Rufai, accompanied by the APC governorship candidate in Kaduna State, Senator Uba Sani, arrived at the venue of the commissioning. Given an overview of the plant, the Chief Executive Officer of Afex says the construction of the facility shows the company's commitment to spearheading growth of Nigeria's agriculture industry.
This plant, this investment in 100,000 metric multi-grain processing plants signifies the core essence of who we exist, to be ensured that we can provide good food, good nourishable food for Nigeria and for Africa at large.
With the new plant, food manufacturing and processing players will now have access to quality and readily available raw material for production of the various value-added consumers.
I'm happy that Afex has easily developed me, actually. I'm still working in the university, but with Afex, I'll be able to at least supply 2 or 3 tailors with them, and it has improved my incomes very well.
Governor Nasir El-Rufai proceeds to commission the plant, which he notes will enhance the socio-economic well-being of the host communities. A feat he says will be sustained by Senator Uba Sani as his will-be successor.
What Afex has done is to fill that gap of preparation, cleaning, logistics, and also helping our farmers sell at the right price, making them richer. They also help the farmers improve their productivity. And I'm very, very grateful to all the partners behind Afex. I brought him here so that our investors will know that by the grace of God, when he wins the election, nothing is going to change. Things are going to get better by the grace of God.
This kind of investment, we believe our farmers and traders generally will certainly get out of the problem that is facing them at the moment of poverty and lack of jobs.
According to Afex, it has already recorded significant results with over 4,000 metric tons of commodities traded and an estimated 7,100 served by the company through its 8 warehouses currently operational in the country.
Let's head to the equities market now. It continued its slide in today's trading session. Airtel Africa tumbled again by 10%. Jeffrey Uzongo reports.
Welcome to the stock market report. A continuous bearish trend at the NGX as the all-share index loses the 46,000 level, and of course closing at 2.16%, and the market cap as well losing the 25 trillion naira level, and here comes the bear. However, we see deals and volume all in the green as the value stays in the red at the end of trade. And of course, looking at the counters for the gainers, we see United Capital appreciated by 9.69%, similar to what happens to Regal Insurance, which appreciated by 8.33%. And on the flip side, Airtel, the big one, losing yet again 2 consecutive days, 10% at the close of trade. It's been quite rocky this week for the market. Regardless, it's positive market breadth with 18 stocks posting gains and 14 stocks declining. Hopefully, the bear loses its grip on the market sometime within the week. That's the stock market report. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. It's back to you.
That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent.
And according to Ukrainian authorities, over 70 people have been killed in rocket and drone strikes, and part of the capital, Kiev, have no water, power after new strikes today. Simon Pusey has more on Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russian forces have again targeted Ukraine's energy facilities, leaving parts of Kiev and other cities with no power or water. In footage released by the Russian military, missiles and rockets can be seen launching from ships at sea. And this is the result: plumes of smoke seen billowing from around a power station in Kiev. Meanwhile, CCTV footage shows the moment a Russian fighter plane crashed into a residential building in the southern city of Yezhik shortly after takeoff. The Interfax news agency reports the crash engulfed apartments in a fireball, killing at least 13 people. The latest attacks came 24 hours after Kyiv was hit by so-called kamikaze drones supplied by Iran.
Тегеран несе повну відповідальність за руйнацію.
Earlier, Ukraine's foreign minister promoted the idea of cutting diplomatic ties with Iran over Russian weapons supplies. A preliminary investigation of damage to the 2 Nord Stream gas pipelines in the Danish part of the Baltic Sea shows that the leaks were caused by powerful explosions. The Danish findings appear to be similar to those of Swedish prosecutors. Video released by the Swedish Coast Guard earlier last month showed bubbles churning up the Baltic Sea above the leaking Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines. Swedish and Danish authorities are investigating 4 holes in the ruptured pipelines. Meanwhile, a Swedish team says it has found damaged parts of one of the Russian-Europe pipelines hit by leaks. Underwater video appears to show part of the blown-up Nord Stream 1 pipeline. Tigrayan forces have admitted that Ethiopian troops have taken control of the strategic city of Shire in Tigray. Shire is one of Tigray's biggest cities with some 100,000 residents and is a key target because of its air and road connections. The news comes as diplomats grow increasingly worried about the civilian impact of the 23-month civil war. This is the latest escalation in the conflict with the Ethiopian government. A Spanish Coast Guard boat has transported 53 migrants to a port in Spain's Gran Canaria. The African migrants, which included 2 women and 1 child, were rescued 9.6 kilometers from the southern part of the island after they were found traveling in a wooden boat in the Atlantic Ocean. According to a monitoring group, some 4,400 people were lost at sea attempting to reach Spain last year. Guatemalan soldiers have blocked a group of hundreds of migrants, including Venezuelans, and fired tear gas to prevent them from entering the country. Drone footage shows the Guatemalan army blocking the path to migrants from entering Venezuela and other countries. The blockade happened after the US announced on October the 12th that it would grant up to 24,000 Venezuelans humanitarian access to the United States by air. And the super-luxury car maker Rolls-Royce has unveiled its first ever fully electric coupe more than 120 years after their founder predicted an electric future for his cars. Called the Spectre, it can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.3 seconds. And is expected to have a range of 320 miles. Onboard technology includes 18 different sensors that monitor the suspension, steering, braking and power. In 1900, co-founder of the company Charles Rolls said electric vehicles would be a clean, quiet alternative to the internal combustion engine.
I mean, this is not only an important day, it is a very special day for us because it goes back to the year 1900, when one of our founders, Charles Rolls, made a prophecy, and that prophecy was that electric drive is a perfect fit because it's clean, it's noiseless, and once charging is able and is fixed, the charging problem, then this is the ideal propulsion for a car. All our clients do have charging at home. In the meantime, they have anyhow multiple garages with electric cars already in. So I think we are coming at the very right moment, and everything you experience in the car gives you that pleasing feeling of riding on a magic carpet ride, wafting through the country, flight on land in electric form.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Let's now take a look at some sports news. NPFL champions Rivers United will face Al Nassr Benghazi in the final playoff round of the CAF Confederations Cup. Rivers United exited the Champions League after losing 7-2 on aggregate to Moroccan side Wydad Casablanca. Another Nigerian side who crashed out of the Champions League, Plateau United, will play another Libyan club, Al Akhdar. And in England, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp says Portugal forward Diogo Jota has been ruled out of the World Cup due to a calf injury. The 25-year-old was taken off on a stretcher deep into stoppage time during Liverpool's 1-0 Premier League win against champions Manchester City at the weekend. And that's it on sports news. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Millicent.
Thank you, Victor. And the main news again. Panic was the order of the day in Bayelsa State today as flood washed up bodies from graves. The state governor, Doye Diri, declared 7 days work-free for government workers after an aerial tour of some affected communities. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.